In the first reading, we read of the Passover in Egypt. We remember how Moses was told that the angel of death would come, and in order to protect the Israelites, he was to have each of them, each family, slaughter a lamb and mark their doorposts of their homes with its blood. They were to then eat the lamb as a family. And as they did this, they were to be ready because the Lord was doing something big. He was coming to set them free. It says, "This is how you are to eat it, with your loins girt, sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand. You shall eat like those who are in flight. It is the Passover of the Lord." The Lord was passing over, and they were to be ready. Eat, but be ready to go, because the Lord was setting them free from slavery in Egypt. And not only was the Lord setting them free from slavery in Egypt, but this Passover meal, the slaughter of the lamb, this wiping of the blood and eating of the lamb, was also a preparation for what God would do later with Christ at the Last Supper, which was also a Passover meal. That's the first reading. And then in the gospel, we jump ahead to the gospel, we heard of Christ washing the feet of his apostles. We remember how Christ purified the apostles before he would make them priests and before they would participate in the first Mass. Further, they would see this humble service of Christ as an example and model for them as to how they were to love and to serve each other. And then finally, the second reading with St. Paul, we read of the Holy Mass. Paul remembers that he's just recounting what he received from others. And this helps us to see that the Holy Mass goes all the way back to Christ at the Last Supper. And it was very important for the first Christians to pray the Mass and to use the same words that Christ used, that St. Paul records in that reading today. Now, with all of this in mind and as the backdrop, I just want to speak a little bit today about the 2 anniversaries that we celebrate in the church. Did you know this? Today, 2 anniversaries. We celebrate the anniversary of the Mass, and we also celebrate the anniversary of the priesthood. It's at the Last Supper that we have the first Mass, and also there the church teaches that the ordination of the first priests happened of the apostles. Pope John Paul II, he had a tradition that every Holy Thursday he would write a letter to priests. And so I have one of the books of the collection of the writings for Holy Thursday from John Paul II to priests on the anniversary of the priesthood. And today what I would like to do in the homily is just to reflect with you a little bit in this kind of thought on the gift of the priesthood, and just to share a few things that I hope will be helpful for all of us. There's a book that was co-authored a little while ago by Benedict XVI and Cardinal Robert Sarah on priestly celibacy, and it was titled "From the Depths of Our Hearts." And in there's a few really good insights into the essence of the priesthood. This is what one quote says. He says, "For a priest, the celebration of the Eucharist does not amount only to carrying out rites." Right? For the priest, the Holy Mass isn't just about fulfilling an obligation or carrying out like a nice tradition or a ceremony or some kind of nice symbol. The Mass is way more than that for all of us, right? And for the priest most especially, it has to be more. He's not just doing his job, right? This isn't just a job, but there's something sacred here, something way more. He goes on to say, the celebration of the Mass presupposes that he enters with his whole being into the great gift of Christ to the Father, into the great yes of Jesus to his Father. Into your hands I commit my spirit. Now, he says, celibacy is a definitive yes. It is to let oneself be taken into the hand of God, to give oneself into the hands of the Lord, into his eye. It is a definitive yes. He's trying to show us, right, that all of us, yes, all of us are striving to give our lives to God, right? That's the Christian calling for sure. For the priest, he does this as a celibate man who gives up the possibility of a wife and of a family so that he can be more generous and more available to serve the Lord and to serve his people. It's an amazing thought, right? We have maybe a doctor, you might have your own lawyer, you might have your own plumber. Something bad and horrible goes wrong in your washroom or whatever, right? And you call and you say, can I get an appointment? Can you come and help me? And at some point, they will get there and they will help you and hopefully fix the problem. It may cost you a lot, but hopefully they'll get the job done, right? For us, that's not how we think about the priest, right? He's not just another job, just, hey, call him up like you would your plumber. But the priest is supposed to be another Christ. It's not just another job. The priest, he is a priest, right? He doesn't just do a priest, he is a priest. And for the people, he is to be there when they need him. When people call, the priest runs. When people are in need, he jumps up, ready to go wherever he is needed. And his celibacy, his acceptance of celibacy allows him to be the face and presence of Christ to his people whenever they are in need. And so Cardinal Sarah, he continues, he says, part of the priesthood, moreover, is truly making oneself available to the Lord in the fullness of one's being, and consequently finding oneself truly available to all men and women. I think celibacy is a fundamental expression of this totality. For him, it makes perfect sense, right? That the priest who is striving to give his whole life to God, who's striving to give a yes to the Father like Jesus did, who's trying to be another Christ, that he, like Christ, would also embrace celibacy, to have this total availability, this total generosity to give his life to God. We might wonder today, right? How does the priest live as a celibate man in a healthy way? And is this even possible anymore? We know, right? We know that some priests have caused great scandal to the church and others and have done horribly wicked things. But this does not mean that all priests are bad or that celibacy needs to go. We need priests who will share more deeply in the priestly heart of Christ. They need to be marked by the priestly heart of Christ. Our priests need to be deeply devoted to prayer, obviously, right? To live out a supernatural vocation, they need lots of supernatural grace. They need to be men, as all of us do, but they need to be men especially devoted to prayer. Prayer is what sustains every vocation. We know when the priest stops praying, he quickly loses his way. I have a question for you, right? Do you encourage your priest to pray? Do you regularly, every once in a while, try to offer some encouragement to your priest to pray every day and to keep praying? As well, do you share with your priest some things that are happening in your own prayer life? For me, I love hearing from our people and from many of you. When you share with me sometimes some of the things that are happening in your own faith, in your own prayer, things where God has touched you, where he's moved you, where he's shown you, where he's been guiding you, right? That's encouraging for priests. We need to hear that too, right? Priests preach a lot, right? But we need to hear about the work of God in your lives. As well, we know, right? Priests are men. And as men, they need to keep busy or they'll get into trouble, right? They're just in that sense like little boys, right? If they're not busy about good things, they're going to get into trouble. So priests need to be busy about good things. One of the chief duties, of course, of the priest is to offer the sacraments, right? To offer the sacraments, which are the regular means of grace for our lives. The priest pours himself out, hearing confessions, offering the Holy Mass, and anointing the sick and dying, especially, along with all of the other sacraments. Recently, over the last little while, it's been a gift, right, that I've been able to spend a bit of time with a few of our families where someone was dying, right, and being able to accompany that person and their family, and then even being there after the person has died too. It's a beautiful thing, right? It's a really good thing, and an awesome thing as a priest that maybe before I was a priest, I would have been scared of doing that or intimidated or wonder, what do you do? What do you say? But now, like more and more, I see, wow, like that's really a gift as a priest, to be able to be there and to offer that kind of support, encouragement, prayer, and faith during a time of real importance and of great need. As well, the priest is a spiritual father, right? He is to take initiative and to encourage his church family in their daily struggles and joys. He keeps close to his heart the well-being of his people, both humanly and spiritually. These are just some thoughts for myself, right? That mainly so that I can remember, right? And to try really to keep working at these things and to growing and to improving in my life as a priest. And I hope that you can help me with that. I wanted to give you, though, 3 kind of more practical ways that maybe that you can help your priests, and maybe for those of you who are, this is your parish, that you can help me as your priest, right? And none of these are really great things or huge things, but maybe just smaller things that are definitely possible, right? So one of them is to look at your priest as a spiritual father, right? For you, I'm trying to be a good priest. I want to be a spiritual father to you in your life. And for some of you, it may be hard, right? Because I may be younger than you, right? And maybe that's a little weird. But there you go, right? This is who God gave you, and such is life. But to try to look at your priest as a real spiritual father, who you are looking to share your life with, to ask for prayers and help, and even sometimes a bit of guidance. You call your priest Father, right? And you should mean that, Father. And expect that this priest, right? Expect from me that I will be a father to you. Call that out of me, because that's what I want, truly. With the priest, you want to invite him into your life and into your home, into your family. I was so touched in the last little while. There's a little girl in our parish, right? Who I know prays for me every night. Her parents tell me that she prays for her mom, her dad, and she a few other people, and she always remembers me. And I pray for Father, right? And that's so beautiful and it's so good and such an awesome thing as a priest to be a part of the families of many people, right? It's a real gift of celibacy, like being free to be a part of many people's families. So let the priest be a spiritual father to you. Expect and look for that from him. The second one, I just have 2 more. The second one is to respect that the priest is the father of a large family. Right? Just like many of you have been parents of large families, realize and respect that the priest is a father of a large family. And so I encourage you, when you can, to try to be concise and to the point, right? Especially in a number of areas, but maybe in confession, just thinking of that in particular. We have lots of people normally who are looking for confession, right? When you're going to confession, try really hard to prepare before, to know what you're going to say, and then just to go in there and try to be straight to the point and just kind of, and to make your confession, right? So that the priest can hear many confessions, that many can be absolved. For me, when I'm in the confessional, it's on my mind. Often, I don't get through everyone, right? And I know that, and I feel bad about it, and I know that people need it. So just one little thing that you can help me with, release my stress and anxiety, is just trying to be very to the point with your confessions. Another thing, a wife once asked me, right? She asked me if it was right that she should expect her husband to notice what she needs and to do it for her. And for those of you who are married, right, is it right that you should expect of your husband that he notices the things that you need and then is able to do them quickly? And I told her, well, yeah, it probably is right, but don't play games here, right? If he's missing something, you should tell him. You should be very direct and say, okay, husband, it's, something's coming up or something needs to be done or this is what I need. Do it, right? I need this from you. We shouldn't be afraid to be direct. And in a similar way, again, a priest is a man, right? We don't always see everything. Just like your husbands, for those wives, you know that they miss things. So with your priest too, try to be direct, right? If he's missing something, don't play games. Just come and tell him, Father, I need you to do this. I need your help, or maybe you're missing this, or can I suggest something, right? Try to do that. We might not always get the answer we're looking for. I don't know, right? But it's worth being kind of direct and as open as possible. And again, with that, just trying to be concise, straight to the point, not playing games, not beating around the bush. Just okay, here we go, right? So the priest is a father of a large family, and just respecting that, that's a big challenge, trying to be available, ready, and have time for everyone. We want that, and are trying to do that. One little thing you can do is just trying to not waste time, to get straight to the point with things, and to help your priest, right? Help me. And then the last one actually is kind of just that, right? Help your priests, right? All of your priests, even priests when you visit other parishes. Try to be a good help to your priests. Many of you are, right? And I'm so grateful. I've been blessed time and time again with many awesome people who have helped me in tons of ways. When I became a priest, I became a priest, I believe, because God called me, right? And because also He put in my heart a real desire for prayer and for service, right? He called me a desire for prayer and for service. But in no way does this mean that I have all of the qualities to be a great priest, right? There's lots of imperfections, there's lots of weaknesses, there's lots of things that even as a priest now that I still struggle with, that I don't do particularly well. And for myself, right, like naturally, I'm more introverted, naturally I'm more shy, naturally I'm way more comfortable being a follower than a leader, right? Naturally, like I don't really like teaching. I don't like talking in front of people. But yet here I am, right? And God has called me. I believe like that God has given me some graces and just kind of over time you learn how to do these things, but it doesn't mean that they come easy. It doesn't mean that they're not hard sometimes too, right? When your natural tendencies are in a certain way. And that's true in lots of different areas with all priests. It's true of all of you in your own lives, right? It may be in your own professions, in the different things that God is asking of us, that maybe there definitely are weak points, right? So where we maybe notice those weak points, and I'm asking of you when you notice them in your priest, when you notice them in me, right? You can call me out, you can mock me, you can do all those things, but it'd be better if you try to help me, right? Please help me when you notice limitations, weaknesses, struggles. One of the areas that I do struggle with is asking for help, right? And in particular, like one little thing is asking for volunteers or asking you to help. In my mind, I'll come up with 100 reasons why you're so busy, why like you have lots going on in your own lives, and maybe you just may not have the time. You have the goodness, but not the time to be able to help us in whatever area, right? I'm not good at asking for people to help or getting lots of volunteers and putting things together in that way. So if you want to know, maybe one of the areas that you can help, that would be a great help, take lots of stress off, is just being quick to offer your help, right? Or even just noticing, Father, like this hasn't been done, right? Can I do this, right? To just offering when you notice that something needs to be done. Today we give thanks to God for the gifts of the Holy Mass and of the Holy Priesthood. We give thanks for our high priest, who is Jesus Christ, for all the apostles who were made the first priests, for their successors, and for all the saintly priests throughout the ages. And today I encourage you, and I will do the same, let us try to remember during this Holy Mass for Holy Thursday all the good priests in our lives and to give thanks. All the priests who have been there when we were a little kid, when we're much older, and everywhere else, who have been a good influence in our lives, and to give thanks for them, to give thanks to Christ for the gift of the priesthood and the Holy Mass. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen.